morning and welcome to IndianaSRN. The Sportszone is moments away, but let me share several ways that you can follow us. On Twitter, at IndianaSRN. Subscribe to our YouTube page, IndianaSRN. Follow Keith Myers on Twitter, at Coach IndianaSRN, or our Facebook, Indiana Sports Radio Network. Email us at coach@indianasrn.org. Please feel free to comment about the show. Now, let's join today's Sports Zone. It's the Sports Zone with Keith Myers and the IndianaSRN sports team, made possible by Morales Group, College Hunks and Movers, the IHSAA, and Aspen Creek Grill. Now, let's join Keith and his guests.
Well, on the hotline is Matt Wilford. Matt, you joined us on day one when we did this almost been about a month. And now it's day 31 in my seclusion studio, and Debbie and I are still doing well, and she hasn't broken anything of mine, or I don't have a black eye yet. So I think quarantation's doing well for our household.
Well, that's to be honest, it's just good to talk to somebody. So it's nice to hear your voice and be here. I'm working off the ping pong table in the basement, and we're all doing what we have to do to keep moving this thing forward. And I find myself able to get a lot done. I've had a great opportunity to call lots of donors and supporters and thank people along the way, and just talk to folks. So it's been great. Yeah,
you talk about the donors, and the donors are real important. And now that we're in this for a long haul, those donors now, I don't think you stress enough how much you appreciate them, and you see that blessing now, because with those people, the foundation is still running strong and still doing what it needs to do.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I do want to thank all of our donors and the supporters. We're over 600 strong in our donor base now as we continue to build our annual fund, and the support and the outpouring has just been awesome over the last couple of years, and it continues. This is just a really good time to do some strategic planning and some thought processing for next year, and as we go forward. So it is a good time to reflect and be thankful for our donors and the things they're doing for all our member institutions and our 160,000 student athletes all over the state.
You talk about that. We're strategizing now as we're doing our meetings at Zoom, just like you guys are. And Jerry and I have been talking about, how we get things going for the football season. And we feel that our business might explode because of this outbreak, and people may not be as quickly to go to games. And that gives us an opportunity to video webcast these games or broadcast these games on internet radio. And that's a good thing. We want to be a really access to the schools and to the public.
Yeah, since it is such a tumultuous time and people don't know, we're just hopeful that we, by the fall can have things back to some type of normalcy, so we can have people in stadiums for football and in the gym for volleyball and all over this fall. But if they can't or aren't comfortable yet with that, it's nice to have outlets like this and folks like you that do this. Your partnership has been amazing. Your support of education-based athletics and the promotion of this student athlete experience and all that we're doing here, we just really appreciate the work you do and appreciate the partnership you have with the IHSAA.
As we were talking earlier this month, you talked about your first trip to Indiana, watching Indiana high school basketball in the Woodlawn up in Anderson. Do you remember your second and third? What got you hooked on Indiana high school sports?
Well, it's sort of interesting because the other thing that comes to my mind early on, and again, seeing Delray Brooks bringing his Michigan City team to Anderson against Troy Lewis in 1983, I guess, December, was just like, I'm in. And it got me hooked then because my brother ended up at IU, and it was all about Steve Alford then. And so then you get your introduction to Newcastle basketball. And I will tell you that one of the things that I think if I could have the time machine, and this would be in a lot of ways a tremendous waste of a time machine, but if the time machine could only be used to go back to see great high school sporting events, then I would love to go back to senior year of high school of Steve Alford and see him play at Chrysler Arena. That would have been a real neat thing, because I used to do the socks shorts 1, 2, 3 routine
yes.
at the free throw line. I picked that up before my senior year because it was all about Steve Alford, and I would do that same thing as well. You know, he shot about 90 something percent. Mine was way under that.
You know, someone told me the other day that they were watching Steve Alford playing Anderson, and the score was Anderson was up by 1 with 2 seconds to go, and Steve Alford got fouled with 2 shots as the horn went off. And so he's at the free throw line with no time left on the clock, no one at the free throw line. Anderson people are getting ready to leave because they know he's shooting 97% from the free throw line, and he missed both of them, and Anderson wins by 1. True story.
Wow.
Lady told me it was crazy. It's the most unbelievable thing, because the Newcastle people are going, yeah, we got this game won. The Anderson people are going, oh, we got this game lost, and he misses both free throws. I don't think I've never seen him miss 2 free throws in my life watching him play.
Well, I'll tell you, Keith, even in bantering about this, it just tells you about the importance of high school sports, education-based athletics. And when we have these types of memories, we're not the only 2 guys that have great memories of days gone by, et cetera. And that's just what life's all about. And that is, in a nutshell, again, for the listeners and thanking our donors, that's what we're trying to protect and sustain, is this education-based athletics, and keep it around for future generations and for our kids and our grandkids to enjoy these same experiences and have these same memories. I think, Keith, that's one of the reasons why it's so hard to swallow the pill of what's happened this spring with having to cancel finishing the basketball tournament, and then all of our spring sports. I mean, it's the right thing to do, but it is painful. And it's painful for a lot of people because it's a great outlet, an inexpensive outlet for people to come out and enjoy it. And I think there's going to be a greater appreciation on the other side, at the other end of this, when we come out, for people to say, hey, we take some of that stuff for granted. Let's make sure we go out and support these kids and be part of this and enjoy this entertainment.
Let's talk a little bit. You said you had over 600 in your database. Do you know them all by heart?
No, I wish that I did. I have talked to a vast percentage of them as they come in, or left a voicemail, if you will, when they support us, make a donation. So, I honestly see us being, we could have 4, 5, 6, 10,000 annual fund donors over time. I don't know what timeline that is just yet, but the more and more people that understand what we're trying to do to support the IHSAA and its brand and all that is good with education-based athletics, I think we're going to continue to see that on a really steep trend line up.
Okay, so here's your challenge when we have this show late in May, because you're on a rotating visit, because first, my wife loves you, and I don't know why, other than you love IndianaSRN. And number 2, so that time we should just highlight 599 of them in the month of May, but we want to thank them all because they are a vital part of what you do, but more importantly, the student athlete benefits them greatly for what they do for all of us.
Right. I mean, these donors, and you can, the listeners can learn more at IHSAFoundation.org, of course. And, but their contributions are going to help leadership development, character development programs that we are putting out there, trying to help our athletic directors and our principals, but mostly our coaches then, get it the right way. And that stuff all trickles down to helping those student athletes like we keep talking about. And so we're making a difference, and the donors are helping us develop programs to better serve our membership, and that includes the kids, because that's what we are at the end of the day. The IHSAA is a membership association-driven business, and we're here to serve. And we're doing that through the foundation by taking full advantage of. We are about the education, leadership, character development side of the house, where the IHSAA makes the rules, interprets the rules, runs the championships. And so there's a real nice balance here, and I'm just really excited about where we are and where we've come and where we've come from and where we're headed.
Hit it one more time, how people can get a hold of you, Matt, and the foundation one more time.
Yeah, so you can find all the information you need. My contact information is right on the website as well, but go to IHSAAfoundation.org and you can find us right there. If you happen to find yourself on IHSAA website, you'll see our link there as well. I will tell you the other thing that just to get some information, follow us on Twitter at IHSAA Foundation and see some of our activity there as well. But we just appreciate everybody's support. We're all sort of in this together and all have the same love for high school sports. So thanks to everybody and all your listeners, and a special shout out to you guys for the job you do. And I encourage folks to get involved and work with you guys as well. So I appreciate it.
I appreciate that too. And anything you tweet, we retweet. So I know you retweet the Sportszone show as well. So, hey, thanks for your time. I know you were a little busy today. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule. And folks, we'll be back after this. You're listening to the Sportszone on IndianaSRN. Thanks, Matt.
Question. When you walk into the boardrooms of the most successful companies here in Indiana, who do you meet? Answer. Men and women who played high school sports. Education-based high school sports give us more than athletes we can root for. They give us leaders we can depend on. Question. So where will we find tomorrow's leaders? Answer. High school sports.
This message presented by the Indiana High School Athletic Association and the Indiana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Do you want to hear your favorite team on IndianaSRN.org? It's easy to do, calling all the play-by-play and colored commentary. High school sports along with youth sport, Mr. Wizard is waiting for your call. Contact him at 317-443-0052. We're ready for every touchdown, basket, and goal. Contact Mr. Wizard, 317-443-0052. You're listening to IndianaSRN.org. You are listening to the Sports Zone on IndianaSRN. You can reach out to me, Coach, at IndianaSRN.org. We appreciate it. On the hotline now is the head coach, basketball coach, Craig Cox from Traders Point. Hi, Coach. How are you?
I'm doing great. Yourself?
I'm doing pretty well. It's, confined and doing all those things, but the studio is at home. It takes me 5 steps from the bedroom to get to my office, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I guess you got to work a little bit on your cardio, huh?
Well, I do walk every day because, Debbie has to walk every day because of her it keeps her in shape as well. So she walks about 7 miles a day. I walk about 2. And when we turn that corner for her long stint, I just give her a kiss, and she knows where I'm going to head. I either will head to the office where all my sports stuff is, or I'm going to check out the grandkids on Zoom. So
that's great.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Traders Point. You've been part of the Indiana SR family. I think this will be our 3rd or 4th year. It's been a pretty cool marriage, and you guys had an up and down season basketball-wise, but some young kids looking promising for next year.
Yeah, no, we've had a great run over the last 7-8 years, and under my tenure and my staff, and certainly it's been great to have the runs that we've had, and the landscape looked a little bit different this past year as we got extremely young, but different is never wrong. So we look at that as a great challenge, and I think it's a great look for our future in having such a young group where we had 16 of our 19 players were freshmen and sophomores. So we're looking to get after it. Obviously, life as the norm as we knew it has changed, and the landscape of that, just in life in general, let alone with sports and athletics and what our off seasons look like. But that's okay. We'll turn positives into whatever tough challenges that we have in life, and that's how we're trying to tackle them.
Talk a little bit about our relationship and how your kids has adapted to being on internet radio and at times webcast. You didn't have to teach them not to pay attention to the cameras as much as pay attention to the program. Has that helped your program a little bit?
No, I think without question. I mean, first and foremost, my hat's off to you and your team, IndianaSRN. I think it's a great opportunity, not just for us, but the greater community, and given a lot of programs an opportunity to get some exposure. And I think it's great for the kids. The kids feel good about it, whether it's on radio or whether it's on webcast TV through internet. But at the same time, I think that it provides outlets, and certainly for a program and school like ours, and other schools that are just like ours that, are smaller and might not get the added exposure that's on TV or in the newspaper or on the news stations and getting that type of coverage. So I think it's been nothing but a blessing for us. To be able to kind of share our brands with IndianaSRN and Traders Point and all the other schools that you guys air and have relationships with. So it's been a great relationship for one. You guys have done a fantastic job, and we appreciate the opportunities that you guys are providing.
I will make sure I send you your check today. In the mail. Talk a little bit about, not only are you the basketball coach, but you have other duties at Traders Point. Talk a little bit about those day-to-day operations that you have to do and how you fine-tune that, because your son no longer goes to Traders Point. You also have to be a dad. You also have to be a husband. How does all that develop, and how does the Lord help you in those day-to-day operations?
Yeah, great question. I've had various roles in my 8 years here at Traders Point Christian Schools. Currently, I'm the director of operations, and then I also do corporate funding with our development department. And so those certainly keep me busy, along with basketball, and probably even more so. But I think it's whenever you're working in a ministry-focused school, that's where we all have that job description, part of our job description, where it's other duties as assigned. But when you're in ministry, I think all those words are capitalized. So it's been great, but a tremendous blessing to be able to serve the Lord and then serve His people.
We go back to the Jewel days of Jewel Christian Academy. You played, we played each other in conferences. You always beat my little 5th and 6th grade team. I always won the 7th and 8th grade game because you didn't have a 7th and 8th grade team. But your 5th and 6th grade team, we're going to go way back, Craig, where the first state championship games were held at Jewel Christian Academy. That was a big deal for your kids. I think your son was in 4th grade now. He is now, a junior in high school?
He is, yep.
So go back to those days and how that developed. And way back in those days, IndianaSRN was just birthing, and I know we did the championship game. Talk about the memories of the old CSAC conference, if you will.
Well, I thought it was unique in a sense that, it was the Christian Schools Athletic Conference. So everyone was faith-based. That was unique, I think, in itself. And I think what was really neat about that is it really gave all of those schools, the member school, opportunity of competition. Being a smaller Christian schools at that time, sometimes it can be a bit tough to get games scheduled and to find people to play. Whether it's because schools are in townships or already part of the league. So I think it really was unique in that sense. And it gave the kids a sense for playing for something as opposed to just a game. I mean, anytime you're in conference and have conference play and an opportunity to play, for a conference championship. And then in addition to the the Christian schools state tournament as well. It just gave them even added incentive. And I think that it allowed them, our student athletes at the respective schools, to really look at themselves as if, hey, we're no different than the schools that are in conferences or in townships that are playing for those same rights.
You know, you talk about those schools, and so many of those schools now are part of the Indiana High School Athletic Association. Traders Point once was in that conference. Now you are in the Indiana High School Athletic Association. Talk about that transition, and did that conference get you ready to establish the next step?
I think without question. I mean, one, I think it just brings a level of some sustainability. I think for one, it became a lot easier for us in terms of scheduling games. It was prior to our IHSAA days, it was tough at times, to get games. And that's what really prompted us or almost made us to the point where we had to travel, I don't know, maybe 20-25% of our games were out of state because it was hard to find teams here locally that were going to be competitive games for us. And so, when it came to a point where it's like, hey, we feel we're ready to move towards IHSAA, and the IHSAA welcomed us into that through our probationary periods, and so scheduling became easier. I think it gave us a sense of the school and from the community, and an endorsement, if you will. So, I mean, I think that brings great reputability to programs when you have the stamp of approval from IHSAA as you're moving into that process. So it's been great, but I think just with anything, it's had its struggles as well, and that's okay. I think being a smaller school, I tell people all the time, I think that we've done an outstanding job, and for us to be a high school of 140 kids and for us to be carrying 7 varsity sports, it's quite amazing with 137 kids. So, and we're looking to add another one next year. So I think it's been great. It's been challenging at times, but I think the positives far outweigh the negatives.
You talk about that 140 kids at base. That means almost 80% of your student body is involved in some type of athletic program, which I think is outstanding because that grows the community, and the community in Whitestown understands that. And, you've had some huge crowds at some basketball games that we've been in, and also some football games that really unified that community.
Yeah, no, it has been. And I think, we have a smaller gym, so it doesn't take a whole lot to fill it up. But at the same time, I think, I think back last year, 2 years ago now that we're outside of the season of the 2019-2020, but of the 18-19 season when we played Burbuff here, I mean, the place was as electric as I think in the history of the school, where it took about a 35-foot 3-point shot from Simon Banks to tie it up at the buzzer to send it into overtime, or we would have upset, the number 6 ranked 3A team at that time, which would have been monumental. But it's not how God would have it. But the place was standing room only. I can probably say this now, and I'm kind of thankful that the fire marshal didn't show up because we might have gotten excited. Yep. It was standing room only. And what's interesting enough is that we had 2 4A schools that were there, one of which Zionsville, who we played the next few days after that. I mean, when do you have a 4A school coming to scout a 1A team, in their gym? Is not very often. Most 4A schools probably aren't being that concerned about a 1A team, right before sectionals. And so I think that we had the attention of that, and so it was electric. And I think that's been added pieces that IndianaSRN has given us. I think that it's created a buzz in the past several years here as we've gotten into IHSAA and added a new level of excitement and given the kids an opportunity, again, as I mentioned earlier, to compete for a sectional championship.
Craig Cox joins us. Hey, Craig, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about your high school days, okay?
Sounds great.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back right after this. You're listening to the Sportszone on IndianaSRN.
There's no no greater anti-poverty measure than to give a person a job. That helps them start to change that trajectory. Thousands of people get jobs here from all of these diverse backgrounds. We're helping write that story of that better future that we know they can get, we know that they deserve.
Morales Group is a full-service staffing company that provides temporary labor in the Indianapolis, Central Indiana market.
Come talk to us. We would love to work with you.
So you called us because you're stressed from all that clutter taking up your space. The best part is we do all the heavy lifting for you, so you can just sit back and relax. Our hunks call at least 20 to 30 minutes prior to your appointment window. You don't need to lift a finger except to point what items you would like us to haul away. Thanks again for choosing College Hunks Hauling Junk, and we look forward to providing you with a stress-free hauling experience.
You're listening to Indiana SRN, God's Word 24/7, and sports.
Question. When you walk into the boardrooms of the most successful companies here in Indiana, who do you meet? Answer. Men and women who played high school sports. Education-based high school sports give us more than athletes we can root for. They give us leaders we can depend on. Question. So where will we find tomorrow's leaders? Answer. High school sports.
This message presented by the Indiana High School Athletic Association and the Indiana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Craving comfort fresh food made from scratch daily? Check out Aspen Creek Grill. Located across from Hamilton Town Center and beside the Holiday Inn, we offer family farm-raised premium Black Agnes steaks hand-cut daily, creamy pastas, salmon chicken, and fall-off-the-bone ribs. Start with our famous powwow shrimp appetizer and don't miss our refreshing drinks. Family-friendly or a great night out with friends. Aspen Creek Grill. Aspen Creek Grill, Noblesville. Call 317-559-3300.
You're listening to Indiana SRN, home for God's Word 24/7 and sports. Back on the Sports Zone. Thank you very much for listening. It's Keith Myers. Craig Cox joins us, the head basketball coach at Traders Point High School. The Knights. You changed your name a little bit back in the day.
Yeah, we did. We went through a rebranding process. Man, you start quizzing me here already. I think it's probably been 4 years now. I think that we went to the Knights. We were the Traders Point Golden Eagles, our K through 12, and just felt at the time when we started having plans to build a separate building or facility for our high school, that it would kind of give them their own place, their own space, and thought at that time that it'd be great to kind of rebrand just for the high school. Our K through 8 still remain Golden Eagles, but we've recently now just came to conclusion that we're going to switch everything to the Knights. So beginning this August, our K8 will be the Knights as well. We just felt from a branding and marketing standpoint, it made sense to be one as opposed to being separate. So that is correct, though. We are the Knights, Knight Nation as it's known. So we're proud of that and what it all represents.
You know, Sean Kroll, one of our broadcasters, as you know, Sean's been with me several times at your facility. He is the fashion police when it comes to uniforms, and he rates your uniforms as one of the top 5 in the state of Indiana of the teams that we broadcast for. And that's pretty good since we broadcast in 17, 18 teams now on our network. So, you're in the top 10 there, so that's a good thing.
No, I appreciate that, and tell him I'll send him his check here before too much longer.
No problem.
Okay. I take a lot of pride in that, though, in making sure that our kids, being a smaller school, I never want at least our basketball team, and for that matter, any of our student athletes, to feel any less than what they see that other student athletes are getting in terms of their pride packs and uniforms at your bigger schools. So we try to outfit our kids and feeling just as good, not that it's ever wrapped up in the possessional things or, that you get like that. But let's face it, we understand and know that sometimes it drives a lot of these kids in that manner.
You have 25 cheerleaders, so you're just like all those other 4A schools, so that's a good thing.
That's correct.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about your high school career as we wrap this up. What got you, who motivated you, and when did you accept the Lord that you understood that this is what you wanted to do the rest of your life?
It started out as early. I was probably I would say someone that motivated me the most was really a resource teacher that I had in fourth grade. I mean, I had some learning challenges that I had from a reading comprehension standpoint, and I had to get pulled from the classroom and had to go through all that. But it was her who I dealt with. Her name was Mrs. Belzer and Mrs. Byers, who just really motivated me a lot to be something more than what I felt I could be at such a young age. I think it was probably about 7th or 8th grade where I really felt a calling to give back and to work with kids. And so I began to serve a lot within my community, which I grew up in Speedway, and given back to the youth leagues, even in 8th and 9th grade through high school, and trying to kind of serve as an assistant coach to the coach in the youth leagues. And felt a calling there, and really felt in giving back a lot to our underserved population in the inner city, and what really drove me to be part of Jewel Christian Academy at Eastern Star Church for 12 years, and just had a strong push to really give back again to our underserved population. And, grew up in Speedway, went to Speedway High School, graduate in 1986, had the opportunity to have Morris Pollard, who's in the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame, in my sophomore year, and then got to new head coach Tom Smith for my junior and senior year, who was the 1967 Marion County Athlete of the Year. And so I had a great opportunity at Speedway, being a smaller community as well, and then had an opportunity to play collegiate basketball out in New Mexico at Eastern New Mexico University. So just really blessed and having the opportunity. I mean, really, honestly, Keith, I mean, I am in awe sometimes when I feel like I really don't deserve the opportunity to do what I'm doing and working with kids. And so I'm tremendously blessed and honored that God is using me in the way that he has, but I'm truly not deserving of it. But very grateful for what he's given me.
I will just want to let you know, you have blessed me and what we have done for a long time. We've known each other. We go all the way back to my East Lawn days. And I remember the first time we played you on the carpet, and it's like, holy smokes. Yeah. And then my kids got to go to your facility, and there was wood, and they go, actually, there's wood basketball floors, coach. So it's been a blessing to me.
Well, I'll tell you, when we first did that too, my kids were saying the reciprocal side of that, and it's like they're coming in. It's like we can play basketball on carpet, So they were saying the same things. I was like, hey, you still get floor burns, whether it's wood or whether it's rug, but rug might be a little worse.
Yeah,
but that's okay.
I think
we'll get after that.
Yeah, I think our favorite memory of all times, though, is when we played you in baseball. And our kids went down to a facility, and they actually saw where kids were living. And it was like, we have to make a difference. And then next weekend, our coaching staff and our players went to the neighborhood, cut grass, rake leaves, and we developed a bond with Jewel Christian Academy that was solid. And I think it could still be solid today if both of those schools were still existent.
No, it is. Those were very memorable times, and I think that we get in times that we're at now, and we look back at those times and seeing how life was so simple, and then now how many times we take the things every day that we take for granted, just getting out of our house, and now being asked to do the things that we're doing and what we're up against here now. Just makes you appreciate those things, and I think in a lot of ways, God has allowed things like this to allow us to hit reset buttons as reminders.
Yep. Okay, you ready for your quiz?
Oh Lord, I don't know what these questions are, but I guess that they're fair. So go ahead.
Here we go. Would you rather watch Gilligan's Island or Andy Griffith?
Oh, without question, Gilligan's Island.
All right, Burger King or Taco Bell?
Man, as much as I love Mexican food, Taco Bell's not on my list. I like authentic, so I would have to say Burger King.
Would you rather spend a day with Barney Fife or Gomer Pyle?
Oh, absolutely, Gomer Pyle. I'm from Speedway, man. He always did the back home again in Indiana, so it's got to be Gomer.
All right, cake or pie?
I'm not much of a sweet eater, but I would have to say pie, and it would have to be apple.
All right, last one, golf or tennis?
Oh, man, golf. I mean, as soon as you said you had me at golf. Isn't that what Jerry Maguire said?
Yeah.
You had me at golf.
Hey, if you all want to see Craig as a DJ, you should check out his Facebook page because you can spin the hits and you got some moves.
Yeah. No, I don't know about that. I'll tell you, we're trying to do anything right now to keep people encouraged and uplifted. As I said each night that I did that, there's two things, in my opinion, that bring people together more than anything, and that's sports, which we're talking about,
right,
as well as music. So just trying to do what we can. I'll tell you, it's been fun, though.
Hey, tell Miles we said hello. Tell your wife we love her, and thanks so much for spending some time today.
Thank you, Keith. I appreciate not only you, but everything that IndianaSRN continues to do and making an impact in our community.
Appreciate it. We'll take a break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to the Sports Zone on IndianaSRN, where you're always in the game.
Piper Group Warehouse has a strong commitment to their clients as their logistics provider. If you would like to discover how you can improve your service levels while lowering your overall cost, Piper Logistics Group can help. Call Greg Piper today at 317-396-3916. Piper Logistics Group.
Just 2 years ago, internet radio seemed to be a mysterious phenomenon. It was available for use, but there wasn't much data. That has changed. Today, there is a growing body of information on internet radio. 7 out of 10 people ages 18 to 45 prefer to listen to internet radio than a terrestrial radio station. If you are interested in reaching this audience, email us at coach@indianasrn.org. We look forward to sharing our low rates with you and help to market your business. Contact us at coach@indianasrn.org.
Question. When you walk into the boardrooms of the most successful companies here in Indiana, who do you meet? Answer. Men and women who played high school sports. Education-based high school sports give us more than athletes we can root for. They give us leaders we can depend on. Question. So where will we find tomorrow's leaders? Answer. High school sports.
This message presented by the Indiana High School Athletic Association and the Indiana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
You're listening to IndianaSRN.org. You're listening to IndianaSRN, God's Word 24/7 and sports. It is the Sports Zone, and on the hotline, man, this guy, as an official, he needed help. He needed help, and I helped him out as much as I could until I retired. Dan Carmichael, a good friend, basketball official, and one of the things that people said is they don't miss you officiating any sports at all.
You know, after 25 years and learning from the best with you, it still is a good career. I can't believe I'm still doing it, but slowing down a little bit with age. But enjoy the game, the sports, and the games and the kids. Truly.
You know, I gave it up after 25 years because I got into the broadcast booth, and God called me to do that. And thank goodness, I think I do a better job refereeing up in the broadcast booth than I'd ever did on the floor.
I'm going to have to agree with that. As a partner with you in the IHSAA games, yeah. No, Keith, you were fantastic to work with. Enjoyed it. Love those years and days that we did that together.
So, Dan, talk a little bit about what you're doing now as you're venturing to start a new high school in Mooresville at Mooresville Christian Academy. I know you guys are working really hard behind the scenes, and maybe these days where we are has helped you because it has established you to build relationships and maybe to fine-tune some things where you have time now to sit down in meetings and really plan A, B, C, D, and so on.
You know, that's absolutely correct. Talking about our officiating days for 25 plus years and being an AD for years. And now I have slowed down a little bit. Well, I'd like to say slow down, still officiating, still putting the hours in for a different avenue. But we are at Mooresville Christian Academy, K through 8 for 35 years. And this particular year, we started our 9th grade and then next year we will have 10th grade and so on and so forth. But the big thing about it, next year we will start high school sports. And with that, as talking about it right now, we are in the process. We met with engineers a couple weeks ago. We've got the plans laid out. Probably the end of the month, they will start excavating. We will put our sports complex in, which will consist of a IHSAA baseball field, IHSAA softball field, and a soccer field with underground plumbing there.
So IndianaSRN's banner will be in the gymnasium here coming soon?
Hey, it's a great program, and I think we can do that. Yes.
That would be nice.
We've worked together for many years on that with SRN, and they used to call a lot of ball games for us. And so I'm looking forward to that and putting you in our gym and seeing you up in our little cage for our gymnasium. Now, this past year, we do a big auction every year. And this past year, we put a new part of the funds went to put a new gym floor in, which looks amazing. And so, each year we're progressing, but I think the biggest thing next year will be seeing the new softball, baseball, and the new soccer field. And then that's phase one. Phase two will be we will add the educational wing on, which by adding all the new students, we'll have a new educational wing tied on to the middle school. And then phase three will be a field house with 3 museums.
Yeah, you go through, and I know that the Lord has called you to do that. And you were once at Greenwood Christian Academy, as SRN did a lot of their games. And this year we covered the girls from the start to the finish, going all to the semi-state. Al Weems and I are good friends. But you go back to those, but go back when we first met, Dan. When did God called you into ministry? Because we both know, and we both found the Lord in different ways, but when did God said, okay, this is what I want you to do the rest of your life, and you were obedient to follow through on that?
I think it hit me in 2005 when my dad passed away, and the minister was sitting there doing the eulogy and talking, and said, he looked at the 5 siblings sitting in the front row and said, who's going to follow in your father's footsteps? And he was teaching GEDs and ministry at the jail as he was retired. And this pastor looked right down at us, and of course we're all in secular jobs, and he said, who's going to follow in your dad's footsteps? And it hit me like a brick the week after. And I was in Cincinnati at a ball game, and a gentleman comes up to me and says, hey, what are you doing now? And I told him, and he says, well, give me a call on Monday. And next thing you know, I'd started in my athletic director career for about 15 years, and hadn't let go since. And I think every day I grow closer to God because of that, and the kids and the people I'm around.
You talk about your officiating days, and you're still officiating, but I found as God touched me, and it was changing my career officiating wise, as I was in high school game for a long time and then the college game, that my witness grew stronger. And then when he asked me to leave my uniform at Franklin College. Franklin College played Hanover. I left it in Hanover's locker room. I knew then he had a call on my life to do something else. I was blessed to find my wife, Debbie, and then this thing exploded as IndianaSRN, as you know. But the testimonies that we can share, not only with coaches, players, and officiating, has really given us a different avenue that we are pastors in a mindset of how to follow people and get people involved in the sports programs that we do.
I think it's amazing. You're right. You're spot on. And I think one of the most awesome things about officiating throughout the years is now I see young men, young women come up to me wherever, a restaurant or a grocery store, wherever, and they say, hey, didn't you officiate one of my games? I say, yeah, and it's amazing when they remember your name or remember you, knowing that you played an integral part in their life in a positive way.
Well, they know me through my hair because I have no hair, so that's what causes me those memories. Hey, Dan, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more with you, and we don't go in detail of Morrisville Christian Academy, and talk a little bit more about that when we come back.
Great.
We'll take a break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to IndianaSRN and the Sportszone.
If you find yourself confronted by unwanted pests in your home or office, then you need to contact the professionals at Kim Mountain Pest Control. We offer quality pest control solutions at an affordable price. We specialize in ants and termites. We're also available to handle a variety of other pests, including roaches, fleas, and flying insects, as well as rats and mice. Don't wait until pests cause severe damage to your home or property. Contact the team of experts at Kim Mountain Pest Control today.
So you called us because you're stressed from all that clutter taking up your space. The best part is we do all the heavy lifting for you, so you can just sit back and relax. Our hunks call at least 20 to 30 minutes prior to your appointment window. You don't need to lift a finger except to point what items you would like us to haul away. Thanks again for choosing College Hunks Hauling Junk, and we look forward to providing you with a stress-free hauling experience.
You're listening to IndianaSRN.
There's no greater anti-poverty measure than to give a person a job. That helps them start to change that trajectory. Thousands of people get jobs here from all of these diverse backgrounds. We're helping write that story of that better future that we know they can get, we know that they deserve.
Morales Group is a full-service staffing company that provides temporary labor in the Indianapolis, Central Indiana market.
Come talk to us. We would love to work with you.
Do you want to hear your favorite team on IndianaSRN.org? It's easy to do, calling all the play-by-play and colored commentary. High school sports along with youth sport, Mr. Wizard is waiting for your call. Contact him at 317-443-0052. We're ready for every touchdown, basket, and goal. Contact Mr. Wizard, 317-443-0052. You are listening to the Sportszone on IndianaSRN. You can contact me by email, coach@IndianaSRN.org. Dan Carmichael joins us. I should know your name by heart, but sorry about stumbling on that. Hey, let's talk about, I want to go back one more thing of AAU basketball. There's a game that you and I both worked at Southport High School, went in a double overtime, and I remember you said you have to stay focused. And then all of a sudden you called me by my nickname, and I have buried that nickname, but you called me the Big Show. And remember what I said to you? We're not going to go in another overtime. I'm going to take care of it. Boy, I'm glad that things have changed. I'm glad God has changed my heart.
That's funny. I remember that game. That's funny. It's funny when we go into overtimes or double overtimes. It's a lot of times the ADs will come over or somebody will say, I'm not paying you for overtime or double overtime. This is on you, and they kind of joke a lot. But, those are the fun games to let the kids decide and see what, those are great games. And it's fun to, get the best out of the kids. That's what I always look for, was getting the best out of it.
Scott Smith was one of our guests a couple of days ago from Jacksonville, and he reminds me that he won a regional game in 5 overtimes to go to the state finals. And I said, 5 overtimes? He goes, I'm glad you wasn't on the floor. So,
that's a great place to work, by the way. I love going to Jacksonville. It's a fun place.
Scott's a good guy. Let's talk a little bit about the transition. What brought the Morrisville Christian Academy families together to realize that there should be a high school and a Christian school in Morrisville?
I was very hesitant. Bruce Peters was my principal for 10 years at previous school, and then he was hired on at Mooresville Christian. And then and I had taken a little time off, and a year, 6 months later or 8 months later, he came to me. He says, "Hey," he goes, "I've got a dream job for you. I've got a great job." I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to keep AD in. The hours my wife and I had put had a lot of fun and just put the long hours in. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it, but a tremendous amount of my friends are still ADs and were ADs at the time, and didn't know if I'd miss it. But anyways, he comes up and says, "I've got a great dream job for you," so on and so forth. And I said, "All right, you want me to be your AD at the middle school?" And he says, No, we'll hire one. And we did hire a great guy, Kirk Beatty, but he said, "I want you to be the development and the advancement director for the new high school and put us on the map." And they had a little bit of a problem. Phenomenal school. They had some bad leadership there for a little bit, and they got through it, then hired Mr. Peters, which phenomenal man and
yes.
great visionary person. So anyways, fast forward to that, he hires me, and basically we hit the ground running, and we've added freshman year this year. We'll go K through 12 now, and then a lot of it is he wants me to help design and facilitate all the athletics. So again, as we talked in the first half, we'll have a sports complex outside, and then phase 1, phase 2 will be the educational wing, and then phase 3 will be an awesome gymnasium with 3 courts, field house, basically.
Yeah,
So,
you've been blessed. Peter, Mr. Peters listed a lot of games of IndianaSRN as Grace played for them and his son played
Yep.
for them. And, the Peter family is very familiar with IndianaSRN. It's funny when they go to games, I go up and Grace now will go, "Oh, you're the guy."
they actually, I think you covered all of his kids.
Yeah.
Because I coached the 2 boys, Camden and Griffin,
Yep.
in soccer, high school soccer, and then both the other girls played volleyball.
Right.
And I actually coached one of them in softball, high school softball also. So, yeah, they're very familiar with you and hear your name and see your face. And SRN is just it's a great thing to listen to, and you're not paying me for this, so I can honestly say I'm not getting paid for this commercial. So, but SRN is an amazing just attribute to sports. It's a great tool, and I love listening to it and love having you whenever we're able to. So,
Yeah. I appreciate it.
but yeah, Mooresville Christian Academy is in the last 2 years, our numbers have gone up minimum of 10% for growth, and then adding high school this year, and it was going great. You know what? I think God put this situation upon us right now. It's just a stoppage in our life, and I think a lot of it's my wife and I talked about it, and I think God is just telling everybody, I want to get back to the basics and get to families and make it a positive. A lot of people look at this negative. I think it's a perfect time and a great time to be able to set and do things like this. We're remote, but I don't get to see your face, but it's awesome to be able to sit at home with your kids and even listen to this and the things you're doing on SRN Sports. But it's a time where we can reflect and thank God that, we're healthy and got families staying home.
I've always had a face for radio, Dan, so that's a good thing. It gives you time to reflect, and it refocuses. And, Debbie and I, as Debbie walks every day, Debbie's averaging about 6 miles a day. I walk about 2, and then I go back to the studios because, I can't do that. But it has taught us to reflect and really set our mind and our whole entire soul on God, because our quiet time is unbelievable, and that's the coolest thing. Take time to pray, because the Lord's going to tell you what to do.
Absolutely.
Dan, it's time for us to go, and we appreciate it.
Keith, it is always a pleasure, and again, I love your station and love what you guys do, and it's a blessing, and it's amazing to hear all the different guys and the quality you have on the different guys that broadcast. But thank you so much for always including me, and next time we get live, I'd love to do a live halftime show again with you and have some more fun. We just won't be running up and down the court.
Yeah, because you would have to carry me this time. Indiana,
like always.
Yeah. Oh, whoa. Indiana SRN. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. That wraps it up for us today. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow. On behalf of the whole entire staff of Indiana SRN, thank you for listening. Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game. We'll see you tomorrow. You're listening to Indiana SRN, God's Word 24/7, and sports.
It's coming. It's coming. BuyIPS.tv. High school sports on the World Wide Web. Every big game on BuyIPS.tv. Football, volleyball, and basketball, and so much more. Coming this fall. BuyIPS.tv. Let the games begin.
Hey, it's Kurt Wallace from the Weekend Top 20 Countdown with a reminder that Lunch Break with Coach is coming up next here on IndianaSRN.org. It's inspiring music and so much more. Don't miss Lunch Break. It's coming up next on Indiana SRN. Indiana SRN, where